Going live. Yeah, you know what we should do? We're live? You know what we should do? Get you a microphone, because it's kind of hard to see you or hear you, but I can also just take this off for now.
I'll just yell.
You just yell loud! What's going on, everyone out there in Facebook land, YouTube land, Twitch land? Falcone here, live from Helping Our Music Evolve in East Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to Falcone Fridays. Every Friday I do an hour mix challenge and see how far I can get in a mix in 1 hour. And hopefully you guys out there will pick up some tips and tricks along the way. So today I'm here with my man Brian. And what's up, Brian?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. What's up, man? See, he's cool. He just keeps it cool, real cool, smooth. Just like this song that we're going to hear today from Brian. It's called Losing Control. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So Losing Control is the track that we're going to be working on today. Do you have any inspiration for the track? Do you want to tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure thing. So I really got into production when I started listening to S.G. Lewis. There's a song, Warm by S.G. Lewis, that just like blew my mind. And it's a super basic song. Like, it doesn't have a lot of percussive elements. So with this, I wasn't trying to have like a huge EDM production. I just wanted it to be steady, have a good rhythm, and really just like hit you in the chest.
So vibes.
Yeah, all about vibes.
All about the vibes. So, yeah, we got a nice wavy, vibey track for you. So a little background on what we already did here. Brian brought me a track that he was producing. And you mixed it?
Everything was mixed in headphones. So.
Cool. So he mixed it. He got it to a point where in his ears he was like, yeah, I'm liking what's going on. And Brian and I have worked before on another track. And, you know, I was telling him a little bit about, like, what you wanted to do. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I could do that super easy, not a problem. But I was, back to what I was saying, I was working with Brian before, and I was teaching him how to, like, kind of paint in the production stage. So you would less focused on the nitty-gritty of EQing, compression, and, you know, attack and release times, and more just kind of painting with the EQs and things like that, so that they would be sharper, brighter, and kind of just the meat of the sounds and to shape the sound. So that's kind of the place where he was when he brought the song to me. And before we started the stream here, we were working on kind of getting the mix a little bit tighter. So let's go ahead and play a little bit of the song and kind of give you guys a reference. All right, so that's what we got going on so far in the track. So in some of the other streams, I kind of focused on gain structure and kind of just building the cake from the bottom up is how I like to describe it. For those that haven't saw the stream, I like to build it from the bottom base all the way up to the top high end. So Brian and I have been mixing since 10 a.m. This morning, and I built that cake already. We sat here. He already did a great job getting the tones that he wanted, and then I started to carve things out and make room and built the cake from the bottom up. Got a really strong foundation in the base, moved up towards the low mids. As you can hear with the song, there's a lot of vibey low mid, kind of mid-range stuff going out, kind of filtered out. So we had to create space for all that to live. So I did a lot of cool techniques that I touched on before in the previous streams, side chaining the kick drum to the bass, the sub bass, but just using a certain frequency range. And I also did some cool things here, just while I'm touching on what we did, that was maybe a little unusual, and maybe you may have not thought of this before. But for example, here we have this grand piano sound. It's really thick and really lush, but also it's very muddy as well when everything else is going on. So what I did was, I did this a few things with this. There's this other sound here that's kind of this ethereal, kind of arpeggiated thing going, and when they play together, there's a lot of that low end, low mid information in that arpeggiated sound that kind of gets muddied up and you can't really hear it. So what I did was I did something a little unusual here. So I used this F6 by Waves. And what I did was I actually side chained that sound to a certain frequency in the piano. So whenever that sound comes in, which is only a few times in the arrangement, the piano, certain frequency in that will be attenuated so that sound can come through. Same process as I did with the kick and the bass, but now I'm applying it to other instruments. So theory behind why I'm doing this, and something that you could use for yourself, is instead of reaching for an EQ or a compressor or something like that, or an overall compressor, start trying to think in multi-bands, in bands, and frequency, and how you can use dynamic dependent information to trigger something else. And you're like, what the hell does that mean? Meaning, so when that sound comes in, it's just going to attenuate a certain frequency. So you can see here, whenever that sound comes in, that little arpeggiator sound, it is just compressing the piano in this 500, 600 range. So let's see if we can hear a difference if I turned it off. I'll turn it back on. So you can see how it's dynamically compressing just that frequency range. And it's very subtle, but it adds up over time the more you do this, because there's about 6, 7 sounds that are in that same exact frequency range, but the piano is the main one that's going out throughout the song. So I'm just trying, instead of like shaping that with EQ and then cutting out all of that low mid and that low end that makes that piano so cool, I can just use this process, sidechain whatever sounds that I want to trigger the compression in certain frequency ranges and create more space. So I did that multiple times here. So there's that sound, right? And then there's this other sound that comes in. It's just this filtered out organ sound. It's awesome, right? But you can hear, I'll solo out the piano again. There's a lot of that sound, there's a lot of that information there as well. So, and I play them together. I'm doing the same thing. So what I did was I duplicated, just to go through my process how I do that. So I take a track and I make a new track here, right? And then I say, okay, what's the input? I'm taking it from organ bells, right? So I make organ bells the input. And then there's an output of that track. Instead of it going out the master bus, I said, okay, I want it to go to the grand piano. And I want it to affect these are the plugins that have sidechain inputs on that channel. And then I select F6, right? Because that's the sidechain that I want. So now this new track, which is originating from this organ bells above it is only being sent to the compressor on the piano here to trigger to be the sidechain input. And what the cool thing is, you can use multiple tracks or multiple instruments to trigger that same or be the sidechain input. So again, so that was the one I did on the bells. And then you hear this also, originally did it on this arpeggiated sound, but you can see it below it is this another track here, and that's again going to the piano and then going to the sidechain input of the F6. So whatever, you can have multiple sounds going to be the same sidechain input, so you don't have to EQ all out of control. That's a pretty expert move right there, but experiment with that and see if you can tune your ears to hear these subtle changes and to make more room. So also you can see on the piano, because there's a lot of low-end information in the piano that we like, but when the bass comes in, it's way too much. So I used the same process. I made a new track. It's coming from the grand piano. I'm sending it now to the bass, and that's going to the F6 sidechain input. So if I go down to our bass here, and it only happens right here in this section. And it's right here. Yep. So I go here. So you can see that it gets pretty wild here in the bass, but check it out what this is doing. I'll solo the bass here, and I'll also solo the piano. So you can see the sidechain on this second band around 133 hertz is getting slammed, but I mean 7 dB of compression, 7 to 9 dB, just when that piano is there. So it can tame, so that piano can cut through and the bass won't be too much. So you don't necessarily just have to use kick drums to sidechain the bass. You can also sidechain other instruments to the bass. That being said, I also did the kick sidechain on this. So this is a technique that you can use, what I'm describing right now, using other instruments as sidechains to compressors on other instruments, is when you have a lot of sounds that are in the same frequency range. So if you have like a vocal and a guitar, you have 10,000 guitars, or backing vocals, and it's like you want that one thing to just cut through a little bit more. Then try this technique, sidechaining it to whatever sound that you want to cut through. So, hope that makes sense. So, let's see where we're at in this song here. I think we were timer. All right, let's just go like this. We'll say 45 minutes and then hit start. Okay. Okay. All right. So, yeah, we did a lot of cool things here. So we were kind of getting the vocals situated. So let's take a listen. What we got here? Hold on. I got something soloed. Yeah, yo. So let's go through some of this stuff that we're doing on the vocals real fast. So a lot going on, as usual. Again, we're trying to just shape sounds and get them a little tighter. So let's solo the vocal out real quick, and then I'm going to bypass some of the effects for you and kind of show you where we ended up.
I can feel you in my heart. You
So adding a little compression here. These vocals, just to let you know, were already kind of mixed. So if I go ahead and bypass everything and kind of show you what the vocals sounded like before. So I'm going to group these and shut these off. Shut this off. So.
I can feel you.
So you can hear there's already delay and stuff on there, and so that gets tricky sometimes. But this is what we did. So I'll go ahead and turn this on. So first I started with a little SSL channel, using it as a gate pretty much, little EQ here in the mid-range and a little in the high-mid. What I'm trying to do is, because there is delay and reverb on there already, I'm trying to use this. Actually, it's in an expander mode. So what that does is it takes the quiet sounds and makes them quieter, and the loud sounds and makes them louder, opposite of a compressor. So I'm trying to do that so when the delays trickle down, they kind of get cut off. So
I can feel you in my heart.
So if I go,
In my heart. In my heart. You in my arms.
so you can hear how it's just kind of making those, tucking those things down a little bit, but without cutting it out like completely like a gate would. So then I added some stereo imaging stuff because there was already reverb and delay on that. A good trick here is when you are dealing with that and you have a stereo reverb and you're trying to get a little more of a mono signal, you can collapse your stereo field down a little bit. So I'll go ahead and bypass these and visit without it.
My heart. You in my arms.
So with it.
Feel you in my heart. You in my arms.
So just collapsing it down a little bit. Be very careful doing that. Again, that's a pro trick. You got to really know what you're hearing for. And then I added a little F6 here
I can
because we had a lot of high end.
feel you in my heart.
And I'm actually doing a boost in gain here. Instead of I'm using the F6 here as a compressor on the fifth band here around 5K. I'm actually in the mid-range here about 1.5K. And whenever the vocal hits, I'm actually boosting that frequency so it can cut through a little bit more.
I can feel you in
I'll pass
my
it.
heart. You in my arms.
Again, subtle things, but add up in the big picture. So, and then here I get even crazier, right? So now I hear really nasty frequencies in the high end, right? So
I can feel
So this is the Brainworks dynamic EQ, which is an amazing, super cool compressor, dynamic EQ, de-esser, and boom for kick drums. So check this out. Listen to this frequency that I'm trying to eliminate.
I
So there's this really high, sharp pitch around 10 or 11K. And the cool thing about this is this has a 15, I can guess 15 dB slope, or it's a really sharp Q, as you can see here, versus being peak 6, peak 3. You can get really sharp and just really getting close on one frequency. And then, again, because this is a dynamic EQ, it's going to react dynamically to how you set your threshold and your release here. So that's all I'm getting with that plugin. And then here I'm using another instances of it because I want to get a different frequency, right? So I'll solo this for you.
can
So it's very high end. It's nasty when you start cranking things loud. And especially in this song, it's such a warm song that those high-end notes, if you're all in warm vibe and you're cranked up on your volume, all of a sudden this vocal comes in, you got this sharp kind of piercing frequency that's not really in tune with everything else. It kind of gets distracting. So that's kind of the approach that I'm using here, is just trying to get rid of those really extreme distracting frequencies. So then I sent that to a main group. So this is the main group. And I choose to put the compressor here again because these vocals are already mixed and there's already stuff on them, so I don't have to necessarily control dynamic individually. I'm more controlling dynamic overall for everything that's headed to the bus. So what I did there was I should probably unsolo. There's a cool lesson, everyone. You're like, where did my vocal go? Because I forgot to hit this solo button again.
I can feel you in my heart.
So you can see here,
You in my arms. Oh.
so this different approaches to using 1176, right? So if I was recording vocals, right, or just doing a standard, there was no compression on it, I would turn this down to more around 3, and I would turn this release down all the way to 7, meaning a really fast release. But what I'm doing here is I kind of just want to let the dynamic, the transient come through the vocal, and then I want to catch it right after the transient, right? So I can get the chunk, the RMS information, if you think of it that way. And then I want it to hold on to it. I don't want it to release so quickly, like pump. I want it to hold on to it because it's a slower vocal, so she's kind of has this long legato note. So if I can have the compressor hold on to it enough that I can control it and I can turn it up more and it can get more of an in-your-face presence to the vocal. So that's the approach there. So once I did that, I went to my one of my favorite plugins, the NLS channel by Waves again.
I can feel you in my heart. You in my arms.
It's like magic. It's just literally just brings it all up front. I mean, I'll show it to you again
I can feel
without it.
you in my heart. You in my arms. Oh, I can feel
And like, look at my level.
you in my heart. You in my arms. Oh,
It basically stays the same. So I'm not adding any more I'm not taking up any more headroom, but I'm adding so much more perceived loudness just by driving that channel strip, just like you would on a console. So when you drive circuitry, I'm driving signal into a transformer, and then that is it's adding harmonic distortion and making it sound fatter without really messing up your headroom. So love that plugin. And then I'm using the C6 here by Waves just to do some more crazy kind of taming.
I can feel you in my heart. You in my arms. Oh,
So this is before.
I can feel you in my heart.
And in the context of what's going on, let's take a listen.
I can feel you in my heart. You in my arms. I can feel you in my heart. You in my arms.
So this is where you got to be. I'm creating a vibe. It's like, oh, those vocals sound great, but without this kind of high. So check it out with this this high this band here is doing to the vocal. I'm going to bypass it. I'm going to bypass it. So what I did was I chose to use this because I'm talking. There's not a lot of high end in the song, so it'd be very distracting if the vocal had all that high end on it. To me, it loses the vibe when that vocal comes in. It kind of sounds disconnected from the rest of the track. So I chose to be a little more aggressive with my attenuation of the high end in that section. So we did these really cool vocal things here we can go through and show you. So let's show you that real quick. Let's solo the vocal. There's nothing that I could do to want to escape from you. Cool. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing multiple things, but this is an old school trick that Phil Collins did a lot. So you know that song, I'm sure everyone knows this song, In the Air Tonight, right? So then when it goes, I remember, don't worry, right? So this is the trick that they did. So this is the sound, what it ends up sounding like, so I'll solo it out. You're like, huh? You're like, what the hell is that? Again, and then there's this one we did. Right? So let's show you how to do that. But again, in context, let's show you what that sounds like. It kind of sounds like it's pulling you in into the next section. And while we were mixing this, those sections, the different vibes, they were kind of all meshing together again because a lot of the sounds are in the same frequency range. So we were like, okay, what can we do to create more tension and more change between the sections? And I came up with this little technique because I didn't come up with it. I just chose to use it for this example. So I wanted to do it in the beginning of this song here, or this verse here. So let's show you how I do that. Okay, so I'm going to take this first word. I can feel, right? So I'm going to bring it down to a different track here because I already have one going for this stuff, which is right here. So let's see, I can go ahead and just copy this and then paste it down here. So I'll solo this out real quick. First thing you want to do is reverse it, right? So let me see. Okay, so let me shut this reverb off first. Okay, so what I'm going to do is reverse it. So if you hit now, you just literally hit R in Ableton. It will automatically reverse the clip for you. Right? And you're like, whoa, that sounds crazy. And then I put a reverb directly on the channel because it can do this in Ableton, right? And you get something like this. All right. So then what I have this again, I have another track set up here. I made the input of that track, the track above it. So I put it in record here, and I press record. Sweet. So now I can unsolo this. I can hit this. I can hit R on that track again and reverse that new clip that we just made. And if I bring this back, let me solo this and show you what that sounds like. All right. So let's see what that sounds like in our track now. I'm going to solo that, and I'm going to solo. So this is what we want to do. We want to line it up so it kind of sounds like it's overlapping. All right. So, and then we can kind of mess with the, let's see what that sounds like in context. So we can kind of smudge this over a little more like that. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to go into your clip envelope here, and then you'll see your clip and you'll have a volume modulation here. So what we want to do is we want to emphasize the beginning, the ramp up, and then right when the other vocal comes back in, we want to duck it like something like this. Maybe not that dramatic, but maybe something like over here. And then maybe even a little bit. So let's kind of give that a listen. Listen a little bit farther. Cool little trick. And you can probably even make this more dramatic if I... Let's listen in context. So this is, we're actually mixing this song. So now this is the creative choices we're going to make. So we're going to play around with this intro and see what that... What if we did it back like something like... Wait. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So what we decided to do is we chop. So instead of using that whole phrase, you kind of get the of the first word coming in, but then we cut it off to again try to create a little dynamic in the song. So I'm going to go hit A for automation mode. I'm going to go to I have a few different effects set up. I have a reverb, a couple delays, dimension expander, and stuff like that here. So on my send B, I'm gonna ramp up that send, and then have it that ha 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 kind of trickle carry on into the next phrase. So let's finesse this a little bit. Okay, so we're not going to do it on the dotted eighth note. We're going to do it on the eighth note, which I believe is... All right, cool. So we're going to use that delay right there that we have set up, and go ahead and ramp this up like that. Killer. So let's solo that. Whoa. So let's show you what I did on that delay, because that's a cool delay, right? I have a return track here. I got a filter delay, a compressor, and a reverb. And then just kidding, it's on this one. So just basically I have a filter delay taking both the right and left signal, and that's what's going to be delayed. And you can hear how it sounds, the delay is mono, so if I turn off the reverb, it's all in the middle, right? And then I'm also, I showed you guys this trick before, but a compressor with the side chain being itself. So the delay and the feedback gets compressed unless there's no dry signal present. Cool. And then I put it through a reverb so it can kind of trail out. And yeah, also there's a little filter on the delay here. So. And you can hear how it gets stereo a little bit. Not too much, but just enough to make it kind of poke out. And then we put that in context. So we got a cool little transition. So. I heard something else real quick, so let's see. See, this is when you get in the creative stuff. It's super fun. Because, again, we already got all the technical kind of stuff out of the way, and now we're in the part where we're actually mixing. I don't think we really got to this point yet in the stream to show you guys, you know, the mixing point part of it. And that's what we're actually doing. We're actually mixing. Before, all I was doing was getting gain structure and getting my sounds and building everything up. But now we're actually making creative moves. So if you're wanting to mix, kind of, and you're trying to understand time and flow of a mix, should always start with gain structure. Get all your gain right first. Then you build the cake from the bottom up. Then you get your balance of everything, what you want to feature, have everything laid out how you want it, kind of get it nice and tight, maybe do some master bus processing to kind of glue it all together, right? Kind of get a nice cake, and then you can start worrying about reverbs and delays and everything like that. And what we're doing here is, again, creating those transition points to allow the song to flow a little bit better. So I might. That's not exactly what I want to do, so let's go ahead and pull up an SSL real quick. Okay, see? Another example. I'm just trying to tame a little bit of that. I like where the level's sitting, but I just want to tame this little frequency that's kind of... See, kind of, there's that. I don't like that. That's like, again, that's like, what, 550, 600? There's a lot of that in this song. See what that did? No. See how it took a little bit of that boxiness out? And there's a lot of that right there, so we can say, okay. See that difference? Bypass it. So it tames it just a little. So I might want to bring this back a little.
First one just sounded so whiny.
Yeah. Now it sounds like all those sounds working together. That one kind of sounded like it was sticking out from everything else. But now we compressed it, just those frequencies, and now it sounds like one unit. So we can solo our little vocal thing that we made, and then we have these other little build-up parts that I'll solo as well. Pretty fun. And then I want to go here. I can put a little fade on it real quick, like this. I think that's pretty cool. So. Kind of sounds like, hey, you know?
It gives enough time for that vocal to come in, to create some space, so when it actually hits, like.
Cool. Yeah, we're creating some space when that new part drops. So, all right. So let's see. Let's just listen down here. This is what mixing is. We got 14 minutes. So this is what the mixing process is. And there's a lot of listening. There's a lot of just like closing your eye and third eyeing it, if you will, and just kind of like getting in your mind and kind of getting focused. And namaste, bro. And kind of just getting a picture of what's going on. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. And you can listen along, and then I'm going to show you where I want to do some more. So.
I can feel you in my heart, you in my arms. I can feel you in my heart, you in my arms.
All right, I'm gonna listen to this transition again.
I can feel you in my heart, you
All right, so check this out. So what I'm going to do is there's this little bell part, right? You can hear it here. Right? So, and you can hear it here. You heard that part right there? So that part needs to be turned up just for that little piece. So I'll go here and then I can. So let's hear what that sounds like. So you hear how it filled in that space a little bit more. So if I undo that. Right, you can hear it's kind of far back. So. Maybe even more. Did you make that mono there or something?
No, it pans right. Up. I want it to sweep from left side. Right.
All right, he wants it to sweep left to right, but I'm thinking there may be a better way to do this. Let's see. So we should probably make, if that's what we want to do, we want it to go even more. You want it to go left to right? Like that. So we're going to even do this a little more. Maybe like somewhere. And then kind of maybe go. And then let's go hard on here. Maybe even go something like, whoosh. Yeah. And maybe just go like this. Well, I see that. We want to turn this up like this. And then I want to turn this up here. Maybe turn this down. And I want to go like this. And hear what that sounds like in context. And now we finesse. Maybe turn this bad boy down to here. Turn this bad boy up. Yeah. We're getting closer, huh? And then we go like this. And then maybe turn this back down. So that's kind of sounding cool. So if it's sounding good and you just need a little more, you just go like this and turn it up just a little bit. Oh, and then maybe we can drag this up just a little bit. And then I don't think this should be as dramatic. Volume? Or the...
While it's going down in volume.
This guy? Yeah. And then maybe you can, again, you just turn this whole thing down a little bit. Or maybe it's the, maybe not so much of a, I kind of just actually want this maybe go like this. Maybe not so much of a, and then. Or do we like it? Or like that, or should it be more? Move it over a little bit.
That almost sounds like a star.
Yeah, no, right. It goes, yeah. So, all right, let's go. Yeah, so that's fun. So you see, guys, it's just about like finding something that works. That's a nice little transition. That's what he was going for there, and we made it happen. So let's bring it back and listen.
I can feel you in my heart, you in my arms.
Should it be a little bit louder? See it? We're just finessing. Dripping in finesse. Hey. So I'm going to turn this up just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit louder on the tail. I feel like we start to lose it as it hits.
As it goes. So go turn this up. Nice. I'm gonna go. Feels like it gets a little right heavy for me or something. Maybe it's because it's just, maybe we should come. For more?
I like how that last note is left, center, right. That's right.
Okay. Cool. Maybe it's this then. Or do you like
I like to push further back.
this way, right? That I just like it like this way. Cool. So there's some mixing stuff for you guys. Kind of just finessing. Now once we have everything leveled, now we're just making all the transitions kind of feel right to us.
There's nothing that I
All right, so what I did there, guys, is I lowered the piano in this next section about 3 dB as it came in to, because I wanted, again, I sidechained this sound to the piano, but I want to make even more dynamic, so I just turned that down, the piano down 3 dB, allowing that arpeggiated sound to come back up. Let's check this transition. Like that? Like, yeah. Left and right? Left, Oh, I just heard something here. Where's that? Where is the... We're almost done with this session, but I wanted to see where... That's the one right there. So... We got, oh, looks like we're done with our timer, but well, we always run over here because we love showing people stuff. Where's this? Let's see if I can make this sound. A little bit in there. With you. Let's make it more dramatic real quick. I'll turn down. Right? Then we're going to turn it down. Like right here, maybe? But I want it even less. Like right here. Yeah. So what we did there, we just added this little delay, right? Like, so here, solo it. So this is without it. Right? And then this is with it. Filling in that space that kind of exists in the song, so... Yeah, totally. Creating space. That's what mixing is all about. All right, guys. So that will be this episode of Falcone Fridays here from Helping Our Music Evolve in East Nashville, Tennessee. Brian, thank you so much, brother, for being a part of this. Yes, sir. So thanks, guys. Check in next week around the same time, 4 p.m. We'll be doing another song for you guys. And as always, stay unrestricted and come down to East Nashville here and check out Helping Our Music Evolve. It's a great space. We'd love to meet you and say hi. All right, guys. Peace.